In February of 2023, police found 37-year-old Christine Bandfield clinging to life with stab wounds at her Herndon, Virginia home. Nearby was the dead body of 38-year-old Joseph Ryan, who had been fatally shot. Christine died from her injuries at a nearby hospital, and suspicion soon fell on her husband, 40-year-old Brendan Bandfield, and the family's au pair, 24-year-old Juliana Perez Magales. Bandfield admitted to shooting Ryan, claiming that he had acted in self-defense after Ryan broke into the residence. But investigators began to question Banfield's version of events after discovering that he and Magales were entangled in a months-long extramarital affair. In October of 2023, roughly 8 months after the killings, authorities charged Magales with second-degree murder for Ryan's death. She pleaded guilty to a reduced manslaughter charge shortly before her case was scheduled to go to trial in late 2024 as part of a deal with prosecutors, who agreed to recommend a sentence of time served in exchange for her testimony against Banfield. She's currently awaiting sentencing, which is scheduled for December. In the meantime, Banfield is awaiting trial, which is slated to begin in October. He's charged with the aggravated murders of his wife and Ryan, but continues to maintain his innocence, denying allegations that he and Magales hatched a twisted plot to kill Christine, so their relationship could continue without the complications that would have come with the divorce. Number 17. Paul Caneiro. In what became known as the Colts Neck Mansion killings, 50-year-old Keith Caneiro, his wife 45-year-old Jennifer, and their two young children Jesse and Sophia were murdered inside their New Jersey home in November of 2018. Police discovered the bodies after responding to a reported fire at the residence during the early morning hours. The following day, they arrested Keith's brother, Paul Caneiro, for setting fire to his own home, which his entire family was able to escape. Paul was charged with aggravated arson along with multiple additional counts later that month, including the murders of his brother's family, another aggravated arson charge, and 2 weapon-related crimes. Nearly 7 years later, the case continues to languish as it slowly works its way through the state's court system. Paul has pleaded not guilty to all charges, refuting the prosecution's argument that he killed the victims because he had been cut off financially from a business he co-owned with Keith after money went missing. The 58-year-old accused quadruple murderer's private attorneys withdrew from the case in March of 2025, and he is currently being represented by a public defender as his trial looms. While it's unclear whether a trial date has been set, the latest available news updates detail ongoing arguments between the defense and prosecution over whether certain evidence should be allowed in court. Number 16. Senator Nicole Mitchell. While responding to a reported burglary at a residence in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, early one morning in April of 2024, police came face-to-face with 49-year-old state senator and Air Force veteran Nicole Mitchell. The home belonged to Mitchell's stepmother, but Mitchell had no logical reason to be there, especially during the pre-dawn hours. After being found in the basement shortly before 5:00 a.m., wearing all black and with a flashlight in her hand, she was arrested on suspicion of felony burglary. According to court documents, Mitchell told officers that she had just arrived at the residence before adding, "Clearly, I'm not good at this." She reportedly claimed that she was at the house to collect some of her late father's belongings that her stepmother had refused to return to her, including family photos, a flannel shirt, and cremated ashes. Inside Mitchell's backpack, police found a laptop belonging to her stepmother, who denied giving the device to the senator. Mitchell maintained her innocence and refused overwhelming calls to resign from her position, but recently said she would soon step down following her conviction for burglary and possession of burglary tools in July of 2025. She faces up to 20 years in prison for the more serious charge, but currently remains free as she awaits her sentencing hearing, which is scheduled for September 10th. Number 15. The murder of Amber Spradlin. In June of 2023, 39-year-old Amber Spradlin was found murdered at the Prestonsburg, Kentucky home of Michael McKinney II after a night of drinking. She had been stabbed at least a dozen times, with such fury that the knife blade broke off in her neck. Spradlin was an employee at a restaurant owned by McKinney, who was also a prominent dentist in the area. She was last seen leaving work at the end of her shift with McKinney and another man. Police were called to McKinney's home the following day after he called 911 and said that his friend was dead on his sofa. No arrests were made until more than a year after the stabbing, when 56-year-old McKinney and his son 24-year-old Michael M.K. McKinney III were charged in connection with Spradlin's death. The elder McKinney was subsequently indicted on 8 counts of complicity to tampering with physical evidence, while Michael III faces a murder charge of multiple evidence tampering counts. A third suspect, family friend Josh Mullins, was charged with evidence tampering. The defendants are accused of conspiring to conceal evidence, including the victim's clothing, a surveillance camera, blood that was found in a sink at the crime scene, and the handle of the knife that was used to kill Spradlin. Authorities have released few other details regarding the circumstances surrounding Spradlin's murder and have not disclosed an alleged motive, leaving the case shrouded largely in mystery as the McKinney's trial looms. Some news reports have mentioned that McKinney II was good friends with the local police chief, leading to speculation that he could receive favorable treatment from the authorities. McKinney II is currently free on bond and has been allowed to continue practicing dentistry in a limited capacity, while McKinney III remains in custody in lieu of a $5 million bond. A recent news update revealed that the trial venue was moved from Floyd County to Pike County, with the proceedings scheduled to begin on December 1st. Number 14. Brian Walshe. 39-year-old mother of 3, Anna Walshe, vanished from her Cohasset, Massachusetts home on New Year's Day in 2023. Her husband, Brian Walshe, reported her missing on January 4th, telling investigators that she rushed out of the house to catch a flight to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. He claimed that Anna took an Uber or Lyft to the airport, but police determined that a car had not picked her up. A search of one of the children's iPads revealed a series of disturbing Google searches from the day of Anna's disappearance, including how to prevent a body from decomposing, how long it takes for a decomposing corpse to start smelling, how to embalm a body, how to dispose of a body, if it's okay to throw body parts in the garbage, and how soon someone can collect their inheritance. The searches also included questions about how long DNA lasts, how to clean blood out of a wooden floor, if an identification can be made based on partial human remains, and whether it's better to throw away or wash clothing from a crime scene. Detectives also found other concerning evidence. During the same 3-day period between Anna's disappearance and when she was reported missing, Brian was seen on surveillance footage buying $450 worth of cleaning supplies. Additionally, investigators detected blood in Brian's car and found a bloody knife buried in the basement of his home. Furthermore, Anna was having an affair at the time of her disappearance, and authorities believe that Brian knew about it. Shortly before she went missing, she told a friend that she was planning to pack up their kids and leave Brian, who was on house arrest and facing prison time in an unrelated art theft case. Anna's body has not been found, but prosecutors feel that the evidence is strong enough to move forward with a first-degree murder case against Brian. He pleaded not guilty and has argued for a dismissal, but the case is slated to go to trial on October 20th. Number 13. Sean Grayson. During the pre-dawn hours of July 6th, 2024, 36-year-old Sonia Massey dialed 911 to report a suspected prowler outside her Springfield, Illinois home. Sangamon County deputies responded to the residence, where they found Massey in a seemingly confused and disoriented state. She was unable to explain the situation beyond stating that she had heard someone outside, and the deputies reassured her that they had searched the area and that no one was lurking nearby. Law enforcement also expressed a concern for Massey's mental health and asked if she was okay. During the conversation, 30-year-old deputy Sean Grayson reminded Massey that there was a pot of hot water on her stove. As she picked up the pot, she could be heard saying, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," in an apparent fear that Massey was going to douse him with hot water. Grayson backed away from the kitchen area, drew his handgun, and threatened to shoot Massey in the face while ordering her to drop the pot. Massey immediately apologized, set the pot down, raised her hands away from it, and ducked. Grayson nevertheless opened fire on her, fatally shooting her in the head, and was fired from his job 10 days later, following an investigation into the incident. The disgraced former cop is now facing a first-degree murder charge in connection with Massey's death, along with 1 count each of misconduct and aggravated assault with a firearm. He remains held without bail, despite having been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in late 2023, and has taken his fight for bond to the Illinois Supreme Court. His trial is scheduled to begin on October 20th in Peoria County. Since Grayson's arrest, disturbing discoveries about his work history have come to light. While he has no documented record of using excessive force, records show that he worked for 6 different law enforcement agencies in the 4 years leading up to Massey's death. He was also discharged from the Army for serious misconduct, which military officials have refused to comment on the nature of. In February, Massey's surviving family members reached a $10 million settlement agreement with Sangamon County. Additionally, the case has inspired the proposal of a new law called House Bill 1953, also known as Sonia Massey's Bill. It seeks to amend the existing Illinois Police Training Act by requiring more thorough background checks before police officers are hired. Number 12. Joshua Phillips. 41-year-old Joshua Earl Patrick Phillips is serving a life prison sentence in Florida for murdering a young girl named Maddie Ray Clifton when he was 14 years old. He stabbed the victim to death with a pocket knife at his Jacksonville home after she injured herself while they were playing baseball and hid her body in his mattress for a week before his mother discovered the victim's corpse. Phillips later claimed that he panicked because he wasn't allowed to have friends over when his parents weren't home, and that he feared how his father would react upon arriving home and learning about Maddie's injury. He was tried as an adult and sentenced to life without parole for first-degree murder, but won a right to a resentencing hearing due to new federal laws regarding the punishment of offenders who committed their crimes as minors. Phillips has appealed his case multiple times starting in the early 2000s. He was resentenced to life in prison in 2017, but is currently awaiting a second resentencing hearing following a 2023 court victory, which ruled that he is eligible to have his case reviewed based on demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation. In June of 2025, a judge agreed to postpone the hearing, which could take place in the upcoming months, although it's unclear whether a date has been set. Number 11. Donna Adelson. 41-year-old Daniel Markell was in the midst of a contentious child custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy, when he was shot dead outside his Tallahassee, Florida home in July of 2014. Suspicion quickly fell on his former in-laws, including his ex-mother-in-law, Donna Adelson, who was furious when Dan fought against Wendy's attempt to move their sons to Miami to be closer to her family. In the months leading up to Dan's murder, Donna's hatred toward her former son-in-law deepened, and she made little effort to hide her desire for him to be eliminated from the picture. Donna and the rest of the Adelsons denied any involvement in Dan's murder, but she and several other family members remained high on the suspect list, including her son, Wendy's brother, Charlie Adelson. In 2016, authorities identified 34-year-old Sigfredo Garcia and 33-year-old Luis Rivera as the killers after connecting them to the crime through surveillance footage, motel records, and other evidence. Investigators soon discovered that the mother of Garcia's children, Catherine Magbanua, worked for the Adelsons' dental practice and had dated Charlie Adelson. They theorized that Catherine had arranged the hit at Charlie's request and that Charlie asked Catherine to arrange the hit at his mother, Donna Adelson's urging. Garcia, Rivera, and Catherine Magbanua eventually cooperated with the authorities and provided evidence against Charlie Adelson, who was found guilty of murder in 2023 and sentenced to life in prison. Just weeks later, Donna Adelson, who is now 75 years old, was apprehended at the Miami airport while trying to flee to Vietnam, which does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. She pleaded not guilty to murder and is scheduled to go to trial in August, but is currently fighting for a change of venue, based on the argument that it would be impossible to commission an unbiased jury in Leon County due to the notoriety the case has received in the media. Number 10. Ryan Routh. 59-year-old Ryan Routh stands accused of attempting to assassinate President Donald Trump in September of 2024, when he was allegedly seen pointing a gun through the fence line at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, Florida. The suspect dropped his weapon and fled the scene in a vehicle after being shot at by Secret Service agents. He was arrested the following day and is facing federal charges for the attempted assassination of Trump, assaulting a federal officer, and multiple gun-related counts. Routh pleaded not guilty and is currently awaiting trial. In one of the latest developments in the case, the judge granted him permission to represent himself while advising against doing so. Meanwhile, the court denied the defendant's court-appointed attorney's request to withdraw from the case and has ordered them to remain on standby. During a recent court hearing, Routh questioned whether the public defenders could effectively defend him, despite thinking he's dangerous, an allegation which both attorneys have denied. Additionally, Routh's court-appointed lawyers claimed that the defendant refused to speak with them when they attempted to meet recently, and that their relationship with him had broken down irretrievably. Routh's trial was originally scheduled for late 2024, but has been met with repeated delays. It remains unclear whether a trial date has been set. Number 9. James McGann. 43-year-old Clinton David Brink and his wife, 41-year-old Kristen Amanda Brink was stabbed to death in July of 2025 while hiking at Devil's Den State Park in Washington County, Arkansas. Several days later, police arrested 28-year-old schoolteacher James McGann at a barbershop in Springdale, roughly 30 miles from where the murders took place. The suspect and victims did not know each other, leaving McGann's alleged motive for the crime unclear. He faces 2 counts of capital murder and is being held without bond as he awaits his arraignment, which is scheduled for August 25th. Since McGann's arrest, news reports have revealed a troubling employment history. He reportedly worked for 4 different school districts in 3 states in recent years and continued to pass background checks for new positions after being placed on leave in Texas in 2023 over concerns regarding his classroom management. Despite any past issues he may have had with his employers, McGann did not have any infractions or suspensions on his teaching record, and he was slated to begin a new job in Arkansas on August 11th. Number 8. Austin Drummond. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has arrested 2 suspects in connection to the ongoing manhunt for accused quadruple murderer Austin Drummond, who's wanted for killing 4 victims following the discovery of their bodies in Tiptonville in late July. Authorities located the remains after a baby was abandoned in a car seat in a random person's front yard in the small community of Tigrett. The murder victims include the baby's father, 21-year-old Matthew Wilson, her mother, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, her maternal grandmother, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, and her teenage maternal uncle Brandon Williams. Courtney Rose and Adriana Williams were reported missing several hours after the baby's abandonment by a 911 caller in Dyer County, who said they were searching for the women with a flashlight at a local residence. The victims' bodies were found the following day, and on August 3rd, authorities announced the arrests of 29-year-old Tanaka Brown and 29-year-old Giovante Thomas on suspicion of accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. Brown also faces an additional evidence tampering charge, and while law enforcement has provided only vague details regarding their alleged roles in the case, both suspects are accused of helping 28-year-old Drummond, who remains on the run. Drummond has a troubling criminal history, including a previous prison stint for the armed robbery of a gas station. During a parole hearing in 2020, prosecutor Jody Pickens argued against his release, stating in a letter that Drummond, a confirmed member of the Vice Lords street gang, had no desire for rehabilitation and was not capable of living among society. Pickens further stated that Drummond had threatened jurors and the robbery victim during a phone call with his father, stating that they were going to regret it. He was released from prison in 2024 after serving 10 years, despite accumulating over 24 disciplinary infractions during his time behind bars. At the time of the murders, Drummond was out on bond for an unrelated case. He's considered armed and dangerous, and anyone with information regarding his whereabouts is urged to contact the TBI and share what they know. Number 7. Stephon Johnson. A Maryland family is finally one step closer to achieving justice for the August 2023 murder of 16-year-old Robert Walker, who was shot at a gas station along Highway 223 in Clinton during the early morning hours while buying snacks. Indiara Walker told NBC Washington that she had no idea it was the last time she would see her son alive when she told him she loved him as he left their home that evening. Upon arriving at the gas station shortly before 3 a.m., officers found Walker suffering from gunshot wounds inside. He died from his injuries just days before his 17th birthday, leaving his loved ones both stunned and heartbroken as they tried to understand why someone would want to kill this sweet and lovable teen. On August 1st, the Prince George's County Police Department announced the arrest of the suspected shooter, 18-year-old Stephon Johnson, who's been held without bond on multiple charges, including first and second-degree murder. Investigators are still working to determine what led up to the shooting and have yet to disclose an alleged motive for the crime. Number 6. Kevin Wade O'Neal. A Tennessee man is facing a slew of criminal charges after authorities say they found 14 improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, at his home in Old Fort. Polk County Sheriff's deputies discovered the weapons while executing a search warrant against 54-year-old Kevin Wade O'Neal, who reportedly made multiple death threats against Sheriff Steve Ross and a local judge over a several-month period. According to reports, O'Neal accused the sheriff's office of stalking him, ignoring criminal activity, and carrying out electronic torture using Wiccan magic. He described Sheriff Ross as a demon-possessed man and targeted several of the agency's employees while allegedly making various attempts to find out where Ross lives. O'Neal's niece, Amber Lilly, told the Deccan Herald that the threat stemmed from a dispute between her uncle and a former friend, who he believes was conspiring with public officials to drive people crazy and manipulate their lives using electronic torture. Lily further explained that O'Neill desperately needs mental health treatment and also suffers from substance abuse issues, and that the family had tried to get help for him as his outbursts worsened over the years. She described her uncle's temperament as explosive, with frequent bouts of rage and psychosis, adding, "I didn't think this situation would ever have an ending where somebody wasn't hurt." While raiding O'Neill's residence, law enforcement officials saw smoke coming from his bedroom, where they found O'Neill and the suspected IEDs. They believe O'Neill attempted to detonate one of the devices as they entered the home, but they were able to evacuate safely before calling the Chattanooga Police Department's bomb squad and agents with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives for assistance. O'Neill faces several counts of attempted murder, along with weapon and explosive-related charges. He's currently detained at the Polk County Jail while awaiting a bond hearing. Number 5. DeMichael Jenkins. 30-year-old mother of 5 and Little Caesars employee Ashanti Mason's life was abruptly taken on the night of Tuesday, July 15th, when she was fatally shot in an alleyway near her workplace in Mason, Georgia. Emergency responders found Mason shortly after 8 p.m. following reports of gunfire and rushed her to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. On August 2nd, authorities announced the arrest of 22-year-old DeMichael Jenkins, who was taken into custody at a local apartment building the previous night after being identified as a suspect in the case. He faces murder charges in connection with Mason's death and is being held without bond at the Bibb County Jail. Little is known about the circumstances leading up to the homicide, and law enforcement officials have yet to disclose the suspected motive for the killing. Jenkins has made news headlines for his previous suspected involvement in other crimes, including the aggravated assault of a teenager who was shot in the arm in 2020. Authorities described Jenkins as armed and dangerous in an appeal to the public for information on his whereabouts, but the outcome of the case is unclear due to his age at the time of the crime. Number 4. John Wayne Biddle and Raymond Malone. 2 suspects have been arrested in what was until now the unsolved 22-year-old murder of a Virginia man outside an Arlington nightclub. 26-year-old Terrick Rutherford was shot multiple times during a dispute in the club's parking lot in June of 2003 after security had broken up a fight between him and some other men. He was attempting to leave in his pickup truck when he lost control of the vehicle due to his injuries and crashed into another car at a nearby intersection. A relative drove him to the hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Early on in the investigation, police identified 2 known gang members, John Wayne Biddle and Raymond Malone, as suspects in the case. Both men were arrested on suspicion of engaging in organized criminal activity, but the charges were later dropped. They are now facing murder charges thanks to a tip from a witness who recently stepped forward with new information. Biddle, who is now 52 years old, and 55-year-old Malone are currently being held at the Tarrant County Jail, with bond set at $100,000. Number 3. Al Fitzpatrick. An Arkansas man is facing a capital murder charge following his recent arrest in connection with the death of 33-year-old Eugene McDaniel, who was shot at a Little Rock apartment building in late February. Officers found the victim unresponsive with gunshot wounds in his vehicle outside the West Bridge apartments while responding to a report of shots fired shortly after 11 p.m. McDaniel was pronounced dead at the scene, and authorities publicly identified 21-year-old Al Fitzpatrick as a suspect in June. Fitzpatrick was arrested on Friday, August 1st, but law enforcement officials have not gone into detail regarding an alleged motive or the circumstances leading up to the case. The investigation is ongoing, and a spokesperson told the media that more information will be released as it becomes available. McDaniel's death marks one of 3 fatal shootings at the West Bridge apartments so far this year, with the most recent murder taking place in late July. Number 2. Robert Strother. The NYPD recently announced the capture of 2 suspects in the brutal murder of 21-year-old Princesa Encarnacion Soto, who was killed in the Bronx on July 22nd after being bound, tortured, and held captive for a week leading up to her death. The victims found in the stairwell of a Fordham Heights apartment building, where her killer had left her to die after tying her to a bed, beating her with a hammer, and stabbing her from head to toe. Following a week-long manhunt, police arrested Encarnacion Soto's ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Robert Strother, and his mother, 54-year-old Naida Jorge. According to detectives, Strother tortured and killed the victim at his mother's apartment building, where a trail of blood led investigators to a bag of Encarnacion Soto's bloody clothing. The residence reportedly reeked of bleach, and there was no blood on Encarnacion Soto's body when it was discovered, leading to allegations that Jorge attempted to clean the crime scene. Authorities revealed that there have been 22 past domestic abuse calls to the address for incidents involving Strother, including 2 complaints filed by Jorge against her son. None of the previous calls involved Encarnacion Soto, but were placed by other women, indicating the possibility of a history of violence against females. Jorge was initially treated as a witness, but reportedly became combative toward police while they were searching her apartment. Both she and Strother are charged with murder, manslaughter, hindering prosecution, concealment of a human corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. Number 1. Stephon Field. 39-year-old Stephon Field of Northampton, New Hampshire, has been arrested for murder and other charges following the discovery of his abandoned car in Exeter on the night of July 28th. Police crossed paths with Field shortly after finding the crashed vehicle and initially took him into custody on suspicion of second offense DUI, conduct after an accident, and alcohol ignition interlock circumvention. During his conversation with law enforcement, he made concerning statements about 38-year-old Kylie Fritz, prompting a welfare check at the woman's Newmarket home. Upon arriving in the residence, officers found Fritz dead on the ground from a gunshot wound, leading to additional charges against Field of second-degree murder and falsifying physical evidence. According to police, Field recklessly caused Fritz's death and attempted to hide the handgun that was used in the crime. Field did not enter a plea to the murder and falsifying evidence charges during his initial court hearing on July 30th. He pleaded not guilty to the DUI-related counts and was ordered to remain held without bond, as he awaits an upcoming probable cause hearing. Thanks for watching. Would you rather solve 10 cold cases or prevent 1 murder, and why? Let us know in the comments section below.